Morning, friends. It's Nancy and it's Friday. Oh wow, I'm so happy I made it this far. I'm doing something totally completely weird and different today. So I'm waiting for a text from Catherine to come in the mail. And that's going to be the cover for my midwife journal. She texted me the other day and she says, you know, I got the perfect book for this. So she sent me a few pictures and I said, that is the perfect book. So yes, please. So that's on its way. So I'm just gonna, you know, fuss around. I got plenty to keep me busy here. And last night I started something that's been on my mind for a while. So this is a slow stitch project. And what I've done is I've cut hexagons from vintage embroidered linens, and I just want to, my goal is to have a cover. So let me just show you how I did that. The first thing I've got is this freezer paper. So this is vintage. I got it at an estate sale. It was $1.39. So it's freezer wrap. I cut pages from here 8.5 by 11, so regular printer size paper. And by taking a piece of paper and with the shiny side down, I just touch this with a hot iron to press it and put it through my printer. I'm running out of ink. Ink has been ordered. Hopefully it'll come today. But the most important part is the black lines there, because that's what I need. So I'm using 1.5 inch hexagons. So that means the length of each side is 1.5 inches. But I'm going to put a link below to a website where you can print hexagons from 1 inch up to 4 inches, I think. And it's a free print. You don't need to sign up for anything. Okay. So I've cut them out and then ironed them to hunks and chunks of linens that I've saved. Now, to make this simple to remove later, I've punched a little hole in there with, you know, my hole punch. These are not family heirlooms. These were purchased at thrift stores and church sales, and yeah. So I'm just cutting this out and I'm leaving, a good 3/8 1/4 inch perimeter there. Gotta grab a glue stick. And I gotta grab there's a magazine. So I'm going to use my glue stick. I use the purple one so you can see what I'm doing. And then just turn that over. And then do the next side. And turn that over. And then I can do the remaining sides. This paper will remove afterwards, don't you worry about it. This is called English paper piecing. Very old technique. sure you get your fabric right against paper. That one looked like the corners were up a little. Not bad. Okay. Okay. I'm just tying a knot in the end of my thread. What kind of thread am I using? Coats & Clark Glacé Finish Cotton. Not my usual brand. I usually would use Gutermann. But thread is thread is thread as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to keep this. I have lots of scraps of fabric around here. I don't need to keep another one. Okay. So I'm going to put this one here. So start by matching the corners up, and we're just going to do a whip stitch. And this is a good TV project. I was working on this last night. Oh, not so good if you can pull the thread right out. We were watching an old Sally Field show last night that neither of us had heard about. It was a 3-part mini-series. It was on Prime. Can't remember what it was called. So we got through the first episode, and I said to Doug, you know, if you want to find something else, I am not interested in this. But I know you like Sally Field. And he says, I could have shut it off after the first 5 minutes, but now I feel like I'm invested. I said, all right, honey, I'm going to bed. I just sewed through my thumb. Okay. Now, I'm going to fold this in half. So I've used different weights of fabric here. So some is just like plain cotton. Some is like a woven linen, which is a little heavier and a little more difficult to work with. And different kinds of fancy work. So some are just, you know, stem stitched. Some are, there's this one I'm trying to sew through right now is sort of a heavily embroidered, lots of satin stitches, almost crewel, but with ordinary cotton, not a wool. And it works just the same. With the heavier fabrics, you might need to allow a little wider seam allowance when you're cutting out the hexagon, because it might be a little more difficult to glue down. It might just refuse. Especially like here where it's really heavily embroidered, that red poppy there. And some is cross stitches. So you can turn the hexagon around a couple of times and see, you know, which position you get the most of, you know, most bang for your buck in terms of getting your hexagon filled with embroidery. I've even got a little bit of applique in one square for sure here, and I'll show you another one that's gonna have a little bit of applique in it. Just let me knot this off. Okay, and I want to cut that. I'm just going to weave it back just through the fabric, not the paper. Okay, where's the one? Oh, here. So this has got a little applique leaf on it, and then some little cross stitches. This green part is into my seam allowance, so I'm just going to check this out and see if I need to cut that off. That's a nice hunk of fabric there. Could make a nice tuck spot. Okay. I'm just going to cut away, like between the surface fabric and the green applique edge. Just going to cut that away, take some of the weight out, because it's going to be in the corner that's an issue. Maybe I can. I looked at it and I thought, oh, those stitches are too tiny. But maybe I can take some of it out of the corner. Yeah. Any big plans for New Year's Eve? Not for I can't stay up till midnight. It's hard to stay up to midnight when you get up at 4 in the morning. We haven't done New Year's Eve in probably a good 15 years anyway. We used to have a tradition. All the nurses I worked with and their husbands, we would get together and go to a restaurant for dinner. And then we would in London, and then we would go to the horse races at the track in London, and that was always fun. We always had a good time. And Doug was really good at picking the horses, and everybody would ask him, how do you pick the horses? And he says, oh, I just see what the jockeys are wearing, and if I like their silks, I go by that. Well, I guess they wouldn't be jockeys, they would be drivers, because it was sulky racing, not horseback. But I know he studied the statistics on the forms and who the driver was, and so, isn't that pretty? Just gonna pop that in there. I would say that it probably isn't a way to machine stitch these unless like you held it flat and zigzagged over it. That's the only way I can figure. I'm not going for an up or down, I'm just sort of seeing what my eyes approve of. Ouch. I'm gonna try to get home this weekend to see my mom. Maybe on Monday, on New Year's Day. What do you think, Mom? Are you watching? Sometimes when I'm doing this English paper piecing, it makes me crazy because, you know, all the bending and folding, and I like things flat. So I'll iron it a couple times while I'm working on it. And there's no fast way. There's no assembly line that can happen. That's why it's called slow stitching. And then that gets folded. You can also just use scrap fabrics. I started doing that last night. I had, I don't know, 5 or 6 pieces cut out, vintage fabric, old cottons, and then I had a brainstorm and thought this would be something different. I do have a box of embroidered linens like this, so might as well use them up. I'm not doing anybody good sitting in a box. It's not like they're perfectly good pieces. I mean, they're all of an age, and some of them are stained, and I'm going to show you a couple of other examples. I got to turn this around. So I can see what I'm doing. Be good for a long car ride too. Nothing too taxing on the old brain. What is it with us? We can't just enjoy being at peace. We have to have something in our hands all the time. What does that say? And one more. You're not going in too deep into the fabric, and you're not sewing through the paper. Just, you know, catching a couple of threads there. I don't know if any of you get Uppercase magazine. On the cover of this most recent issue was some English paper piecing, but it was like a real abstract. And on the front cover they showed the top, and on the back they showed the back of the work, where each of the individual shapes, they weren't all hexagons, they were diamonds and pentagons and who knows, squished hexagons maybe. And they were all individually numbered, so clearly the artist had something in mind. Okay, I'll just leave that thread. All right, let me show you a few more pieces that I've got going on here. So I'm going to be careful with this because I don't want to cut right through that crochet. So this is one of those woven linen type ones. So I'm just going to go a little wider on my seam allowance. So this one's got some greenery, a couple daisies there. There's a few more daisies here and there. I might save those. And for sure, I'm going to press and starch that lace and cut it off. Oh, this one looks like it's another napkin. It's also linen, but it's a very fine linen, not as chunky as that first one. When you cut out your hexagons from the freezer paper, just be very careful and accurate. I'm just going to cut that right off. I'm just going to cut that right off. This one has a rosebud and some other, I think this was like a tablecloth, like, you know, one of those card table ones, you know, a luncheonette maybe, or a luncheon cloth, I mean, that you would toss over your card table when you have your little tea and whatever after a game of bridge. This one, this might have been a pillowcase. These two are too big. I mean, well, I mean, I could use that, but I'm going to save it because I might do another project with bigger hexagons, or I might make, you know, a pocket or something out of it for a future journal. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you thought this was interesting and maybe not something you'd thought about or tried or even heard about maybe. Take care. I will check in with you over the weekend. I hope you have a great New Year's, and I guess that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.